Welcome back, everyone, to Glorious Victoria 2. And this time we're gonna do a mod spotlight for Victoria 2, which I don't think I've ever done. Now, I know what you're thinking. What the fuck is this shit? A lot of you know what this is, and in fact, you're reading the title, so of course you know what this is. It's Divergences of Darkness. Now, you may not know what Divergences of Darkness actually is, though. Now, okay, I'll preface this by saying that I've never fucking played this thing. This is just a first time look, okay? Because this mod I know has some fanboys, so I might be sentencing myself to getting flamed on YouTube. And possibly on Reddit as well if someone posted there. I'm just joking. Essentially, it's like, I think you could describe this as like the OG alternate history mod, right? So you know how today, especially in Hearts of Iron 4, it seems like every other mod is a crazy alternate history mod, right? I think that this might be like the first one, like the first real one. This has existed for a long fucking time, and along with like Kaiserreich, which is the OG for Hearts of Iron, this is the OG for Victoria 2. And I think that the origins, again, this is something I read probably once somewhere. This is like the result of either a multiplayer game of EU4 or a mega campaign of someone that went all the, sorry, not EU4, EU3, that went all the way to EU, and then he ported it over to Victoria, and he thought it looked cool or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't make any fucking sense, like in terms of like real history. We'll get to that in a little bit, but it's kind of cool because it's got some cool things that probably the first person to come up with this, and this is, by the way, like, it doesn't have a single developer. It's been in development for like a ton of time, and you know, it's got a lot of quote-unquote cool stuff that is legitimately quite cool. Like and like basically someone went on Wikipedia, found a bunch of cool shit, and thought, okay, let's put this in an alternate history mod, and also make it about, like, make Western Europe about essentially the 100 Years' War, because as you can see, that the main thing that you see is that there's a purple thing. And this purple thing is called the dual monarchy, and the dual monarchy is obviously England plus France. And England plus France means that the 100 Years' War did not go as we saw IRL. It's basically what happened is the English won. And so they created this sort of monster country thing that's basically a personal union of England and France, except the capital's in France, except the dynasty was the Plantagenets, who were kings of England, but they were, you know, ethnically French because they were descendants of the Normans, and there's, you know, there's contact between the two sides now. So if we take a look at like culture map mode, we see that there's this weird thing in the middle, right? This is English people, this is down here French people. There's this weird thing in here. What is this weird thing? It's called Anglois, which I suppose is to represent, like, you know, English and French meshing together. And Jesus Christ, what the fuck would the result of that be? Not good. In fact, if you see the flag of the DM, the dual monarchy, you see that. Maybe if we go into the great powers, it's gonna show it better. No, see, this is one of the things I hate about Victoria 2, is how the flags get sort of cut by the frame that they're placed in. There's like the English little lions there. That's like, obviously, you know, the English crown. There's the cross of St. George, which is obviously, you know, England. And the cross is quartered with blue, which is France, with lilies, which is the French kingdom, right? So this is like, you know, it's a royal banner kind of thing. And the English flag is a dragon thing, so it's obviously like, you know, St. George kills the dragon, but it doesn't use the little cross of St. George, you know? It's like the English nationalists do not like the dual monarchy. The French nationalists do not like the dual monarchy either. In fact, France has this weird blue flag, because guess what? There were no revolutions in France, and of course, because this all weird shit happened with this, the French never destroyed Burgundy. And so we have this weird ass Burgundy over here that goes, you know, it's got Bourgogne, you know, where Burgundy started off, then it expands up here, you know, and I guess no Burgundian inheritance or whatever, no death of Charles the Bold, which sets off a succession crisis, blah, 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 weird shit. Netherlands becomes Spanish, Netherlands becomes free, none of that shit. Burgundy's capital is actually in Anvers, which is up here, Antwerp in real life, and there's a Burgundian culture, which I suppose is like a mixture between Belgian, because if we take a look at like Lille, no, sorry, Lille is in France, like Brussels, there's Dutch people, but there's also Burgundians. Down here in Namur, in modern-day Belgium, there's Burgundians and Dutch. So, you know, Flemish and Brabantian or whatever is Dutch, but Flanders and like North France and I suppose Alsace, or Alsace, I'm sorry, Alsace and Lorraine and Champagne and Bourgogne, actually no, Champagne is this one, and Bourgogne, all sort of united with this Burgundian thing. So Burgundy is kind of like a weird thing that's in the middle of Europe, I don't fucking know. And I think the revolution happened in Frankfurt, I saw that in one event that I read. I mean, quote-unquote, the revolution, which sets off a thing called the German Wars, which is why Germany is stupid. And since there was never a revolution in France that sort of took over all of Europe, well, we don't have the French Republic or anything like that, and we don't have the tricolor. In fact, we don't have tricolors, I don't think, anywhere at all. Yeah, in fact, the flags all look pretty shit because of it. I'm a big fan of tricolors. I mean, there are some tricolors, but it's because they couldn't find any better flags, I don't think, which is a bit sad. You know, I suppose the Frankfurtian Revolution or whatever invented tricolors. Anyway, you can see that like Germany's still weird, right? There's no like Prussian hegemony. Prussia's still just, you know, a random place here. And they're a satellite of Poland. I guess they never broke free from the Polish because the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth is still around. Because the Russians are pathetic. Yeah, Russia's just pathetic. There's like still the Novgorod-Muscovy split. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why, but whatever. I won't even begin to describe how dumb this is, but whatever. And basically the Holy Roman Empire is still around because, again, there was no like Napoleon or no revolution that took over Europe, so the Holy Roman Empire never got dismantled. And the emperor is Bohemia, as you can see, of course, because of Bohemia being massive and all that. In fact, Bohemia can unite the empire or can even like do an Albion confederation, I've seen. I suppose if anyone wants to unite Germany, it would be Bavaria. Can they even do that? Let's take a look at Bavaria. What are your decisions, my friend? Let the German eagle rise. Yeah, exactly. So the country changes to the German Empire. Huh, okay. And like, they can even form the Danubian Confederation, really now. Amazing. So that's the South and Central German states. I guess that's like the North German Federation plus Austria, or sorry, the South German Federation plus Austria. Because if we take a look at the culture map now, there's no Austrian. It's just Danubian Germans, Rhenish Germans, and Albion Germans. This is a clever. I see. I didn't think about this when I first looked at this, but this is actually like all the rivers, you know. Albion's around the Elbe, Rhenish around the Rhine, and Danubian around the Danube. And it's kind of clever. That's kind of clever. I like that. Anyways, this is like the culture map mode. Obviously, since there was never any like French centralizing absolute monarchy, well, first you never have the you know, the French Revolution, and second you never have like the emergence of a French culture and really nationalism. I don't know, it seems like this world doesn't really have that much nationalism, which, to be honest, doesn't make any fucking sense because you have the Industrial Revolution, right, and the DM and the dual monarchy. because if you take a look at the industry, 168 industry, they have the most industry. Even in the lore, it states that they have the Industrial Revolution, but how does that work if, like, you know, the Duke of fucking Brittany does not allow the movement of labor from the Duke of Normandy's lands? How the fuck do you have the Industrial Revolution? I don't fucking ask me. Don't. See, this is why I say that this mod, if you think too much about it, it doesn't make any sense. But fine, let's not think about it. Let's not think about anything. Ha ha ha. See, like, this is excusable because this is the first one. So it's a bit like Lord of, you know, the Lord of the Rings. It's like, it's got some dumb things, but it was the first one, right? Then everyone copied it, and there's no excuse for copying something stupid if you're not the first one. But the Lord of the Rings is really cool, and it's kind of dumb parts are excusable because it was the first one, you know? But like after that, you gotta improve, man. Anyway, this is kind of like the same thing with Divergences of Darkness. So you have, like, you know, Provence, and Savoy still has parts of, I'm dumb, sorry, disregard what I just said. And, like, you know, Burgundy, and all the cultures are split. So you have the Occitans, you have the Bretons, you have the French, which are just like basically, you know, the central French people. You have the Anglois, which again are this thing, and then you have the Burgundians. Hilariously enough, Burgundy is more national, like has a better claim to nationhood than France, which is quite hilarious. Oh, and like, of course, one thing that you'll notice about this mod is that a lot of the things are different just for the sake of being different. So like, for example, with the Iberian wedding, so like, you know, the Castilians and the Aragonese marrying together and uniting with the Kingdom of Spain, you have that the Kingdom of Spain is a result of the union of Portugal and Castile, and Aragon is still independent and owns the Kingdom of Naples. Again, I think, like, if we were to look into the decision-making process of this, it might just be like, oh, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they married with the Kingdom of, if, you know, Isabella married with the King of Portugal instead of with the King of Aragon or something like that. I'm not a big expert on this stuff, so I won't talk. Oh, and also because the revolutions never happened, and, you know, the restoration never happened, and because Austria is a piece of, you know, really weak, like, duchy, instead of being the great empire, you know, Austria-Hungary, all that, you have that Italy is still kind of dumb. There's no Sardinia-Piedmont, of course, because Sardinia is Aragonese, and the north of Italy is still divided into essentially, like, you know, basically like the ancestral Italian divide with the Duchy of Milan, you know, the Piedmont under Savoy, and Venice. And of course, Tuscany, or sorry, not Tuscany, Etruria, which is actually the ancient name for this stuff. That's kind of cool. Again, you know, ton of cool stuff. Don't even, like, don't even begin asking me why these two are independent when Austria doesn't exist. It does not make any sense. Don't even ask me why this is independent because of Aragon. Okay, that makes some sense. So like the big protector of the Pope, instead of being France, is Aragon. So that's like basically, you know, if you want to unite Italy, I suppose you'd be playing Venice, even though Venice is actually a ally of Aragon. Why would they be an ally of Aragon? I don't know. Venice owns Greece because the Ottomans are like really, really weak in this for some reason. Can I switch to Venice and see if there's like a story event to explain what the fuck is going on here? Avanti Italia! Yes, you can. So you can form Italy with Venice. You can purchase a whole bunch of colonies. Oh man, this is so cool. You get like unique decisions for. Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah, see, this is cool, man. The Venetian relations with. Oh, okay. You can annex Hawaii. Hawaii being independent is kind of cool because, you know, there's no America, there's no USA, so one, there's no America, two, there's no fucking Britain, or, well, I mean, there is Britain, it's just weird and not as colonial. Like, the dual monarchy does have colonies all around the world, but they're not, like, as insanely aggressive on the high seas as the real-life United Kingdom was. So Hawaii is still independent, and apparently Venice can annex them. Amazing. For some reason, like, everything that's over here, as far as I'm concerned, might as well not make any sense. So I'm not even going to talk about it. Of course, PLC is alive because why not? And we have the Hetmanate in fucking Ukraine, which is kind of cool. You know, the Cossacks have their own little thing. The Cossacks never switched sides to Muscovy, essentially. Oh, really now? Yeah. Oh, okay. So the tag of the Hetman is actually Ukraine. Do you get to do any cool things, Hetmanate? No, you're just there to be cucked by Poland, which is kind of sad. Now, one thing that pisses me off, not that because we've established that a ton of things don't make sense. Like, for example, if you take a look at like culture map mode, Scandinavia is only Scandinavian because like the Kalmar Union never fell apart, which is like, okay, sure. Like, I don't think that makes sense, but fine, I can accept that. Have your fun. But, like, why are there so many constitutional monarchies? Like, Burgundy is liberal, and I looked into the lore. There has been no fucking liberal revolution in Burgundy. Why are they liberal? Okay, like, sure. Why is the dual monarchy a semi-constitutional monarchy when it was like a weird Franco-British, but mostly Franco thing? Like, why is Aragon a I mean, that kind of makes sense because of Naples and, you know, the awkwardness of ruling the entire Mediterranean. I can kind of see Aragon being a constitutional monarchy. Merchant Republic, okay, boomers. And, like, why is Scandinavia a semi-constitutional monarchy? Like, why are there why is Poland a constitutional monarchy? What? This shit don't make any sense, bro. Like, this does not make any sense. I don't know. Apparently, the kings of Europe are just really, really nice people. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't fucking know. Anyway, Hungary at least is a fucking absolute monarchy, and Bohemia is one as well. And Russia, thankfully, is one as well. Of course, Novgorod is a republic, but they're in the sphere of Scandinavia. So I don't know. That's just kind of it. Let's not delve too deeply into the rest of the world. Africa is, I guess this makes sense. I don't know. I don't know anything about Africa, so I won't talk. It's kind of cool that there's more tags, though. This is definitely nice. Appreciated, because normal Victoria 2, Africa's literally just like, you know, press buttons and colonize. Amazing. Oh, Egypt. What the fuck is that supposed to be? I don't know. Anyway, the Ottomans have their own little rebellion to deal with, Ottoman reactionaries. Those are supposed to be actually the Janissaries, which is a real thing, except in real life it happened before Victoria II, so that actually makes sense. Then there's this, that like Persia and the Caucasus are just like fucking weird as hell. Afghanistan is called the Sadozai Kingdom, but I don't know. I think it's just a dynasty, and for some reason they own Lahore. Okay. Then, like, the Mughal Empire never fell apart, which is, well, they did fall apart, but not as much as they did IRL because no British, which makes sense, you know. Again, no British in India, although the dual monarchy can pretty easily get in there and take over Nepal, or, sorry, Bengal, and, you know, start the whole real-life thing, conquest of India kind of thing, although since this is obviously in the Victorian period already, like, it's pretty difficult to conquer everything unless you just focus on that. Why does Spain own Rangoon? I have no idea. Yeah, Spain is obviously, like, still kind of bigger global power than it was in real life, I suppose. And in fact, there was like massive Gran Colombia. Now, in real life, this would last about like 0.2 seconds because this one, like this part used to be called the United Provinces of Central America, and it fell apart in like approximately 1 second. So this would take about 0.2 seconds, but like actually at the beginning they're in the Colombian War of Independence, which is kind of cool. You know, they're still slugging it out with Spain for independence, and the The other crazy countries in America are like, or colonies, we should say, are like Lotharingia, which are Lotharian. Now, I think this is supposed to be a Burgundian colony, because, like, you know, Lotharingia was this thing, essentially. But they have their own culture. They're not Burgundian, actually. Which is, there's Afro-Frankish. Obviously, slave trade is still a thing. Then there's Amazonie, which was a Burgundian colony, but the culture is Amazonian. Like, okay, so, like, Brazil speaks Burgundian, basically. Speaks weird alternate history meta-French. And there's Bjornia, which is England, I think. Because, you know, Bjornian in English. Okay. I don't... Okay. I don't know. Florida is Venetian. That's cool. I don't know. It's just for no reason, but it's cool. Scandinavia owns Haiti, which is called Sudurkafejar. Oh, and yeah, a lot of the places have cool names as well. Like, for example, a lot of the states, like over here, have these French names because America was discovered by the French or something. Like, in fact, even like the actual province name, like the state names are all pretty cool and changed. But actually, the province names, they mostly tend to stay the same. But it's kind of cool and quote-unquote cursed, haha, I'm a funny meme man, because all these English names, or a lot of these English names are actually in French. So, like, there's Londres, like, we're Canterbury, or whatever. And, in fact, I'm not sure if in Victoria 2 this is the case, but, like, a lot of these Welsh names are Welsh, and I don't think that they are like this in normal Victoria 2, which is, like, you know, English, like Anglicization of Wales. It's kind of cool because you never had Anglicization of Wales. I don't know. I kind of like that. That's neato, in my opinion. In fact, do you even see, like, weird names anywhere else? Like, no, these are all Italian names. I'm trying to think, like, in places where you'd have names changed by the author. Well, obviously, a lot of these Belgian names sound more Frenchy, but maybe things here? Nah, all these things look pretty much the same. In fact, I bet you if we go east, these places are still called with Russian names, even though the Russians are not around. Yeah, like Chita. Although, there is a, okay, there is a surprising lack of Russian names where I expected Russian names to be. Well, I have been, ooh, even Kashlik, because it's the Sibir Khanate. Really now? Well, I have been slightly, found you, Orenburg. Anyway, in Orsk, that's also a Russian name. I mean, there could have been more Russian names. Yeah, obviously Russia never existed, so it never did this. Which is dumb. Even if Muscovy didn't, like, take over all of Russia, they still would have gone east. It was done not even by the central government. You don't understand. Anyway, this does not make any fucking sense. Like, the Nogai Horde and the Sibir Khanate are still around. The Kazan Khanate doesn't exist anymore, but... In fact, where... Oh, yeah, okay. So the Muscovy still destroyed the Kazan Khanate, but they didn't expand eastward. Okay, whatever. Interesting. And, of course, the fucking glorious Dzungar Khanate, or Dzungar, not sure how to pronounce it, which is this weird thing that, I don't know, just wait. I'll explain that in the future on this channel. But basically it was like the Khanate of the Western Mongols, which in real life fought a bunch of wars with the Qing. In real life it wasn't this big. It was, well, something like this-ish. If we take a look at the cultures. Oh, you fucking piece of shit. What if I do something else? Shit. I think this is how you switch to the Qing. No. No. I know how to switch to the Qing. I need to switch to the Qing. Fucking piece of shit. Really? That worked before. I am 100% sure that was the SAG. Okay, sure. Anyway, I wish I could see the cultures a little bit better. Oh wait, I'm in Sphere of Influence map mode. That's why. If we take a look at the... I'm retarded. If we take a look at the cultures map mode, we can see that like the main culture here is the Oirats, right? These are like quote unquote the Western Mongols, while the Mongol culture is supposed to be the Khalkhas or Khalkhas. Again, not sure on the pronunciation, which are supposed to be like quote unquote the Eastern Mongols. In real life, these two became one, and the Western ones kind of got massacred by the Chinese, and yeah. It's complicated. So China's all kinds of stupid and weird. No one ever completed the Qing conquest 200 years after it's supposed to happen. So the Qing control everything north of the Yangtze, essentially. And the Ming loyalists in Tungning, or if we pronounce it like correctly in Chinese, look at how cool I am, it would be Dongning, but Tungning, let's, because this is literally how it's spelled, apparently. The Tongning Kingdom is basically like, in real life, this was the Ming loyalists, essentially the people that didn't want the Qing taking over, sort of rising up and using Taiwan as a base, which is actually how the, Chinese came to conquer this. It was a Dutch colony. Then the people that were over here and trying to rebel against the Qing were like, okay, let's take it over. And that's that in like 2 minutes, because if we go into it deeper, it takes a long time to explain. Now, I don't particularly understand why all this exists if the Qing never managed to finish off the Ming. Why wouldn't there just be the Ming or the Taiping, which then took over the Ming? I don't know. Then there's this weird thing called the Regency of Nanjing. I have no idea what the fuck this is supposed to be, but it's a presidential dictatorship. So why not? I believe they can restore some kind of dynasty and claim the mandate of heaven or whatever. Anyway, the big brain obviously is the Taiping, which if you're a viewer of my channel, you're familiar with this stuff. But basically, crazy Chinese Christians. Now, in real life, the Taiping existed, well, very much as a reaction to the Qing. They thought that the Qing were Manchu devils, and they were essentially like, the Manchus were essentially like the manifestation of Satan, essentially. They didn't express themselves this way, but like of the devil on Earth. And so I'm not sure why in this universe where the Qing are pathetic, the Taiping are so cool. But sure, the Taiping are really cool, and I guess they can take over all of China. And yeah, for some reason, though, the stupidness doesn't end there. Korea is a civilized nation, which means that they westernized. Now, Korea in real life was probably the most the country that was the most resistant to westernizing, because it was perfectly happy being in the Chinese world order kind of thing, and kind of minding its own business, which is why they called Korea the Hermit Kingdom. Now, you might have heard that term about used to describe North Korea, but it actually originated to describe the Joseon dynasty, which is the kingdom of Joseon, or Chosen dynasty. I'm not sure how you pronounce that shit, but yeah, apparently in this timeline, they are a civilized nation, which means that they're westernized, and Japan is westernized at the start of the game and is trying to take over Korea. Or maybe Korea is having an independence war because it's called the Joseon Fight for Freedom. And for some reason the Qing are supporting the independence of Korea, even though historically, out of the Qing and Japan, the side that was most in favor of Korean independence was Japan, because it meant taking Korea away from Qing overlordship and Chinese, you know, world order that was this does not make any fucking sense, okay? But it's this way. Anyway, to close off, because probably this is running pretty long, let's take a look at America, and then, you know, I'll give my thoughts on it. America's dumb in some ways. It's kind of cool in others. I think the main dumb things is that, like, these borders look pretty, like, pathetic, in my opinion, but whatever. Like, they look like they've been drawn, you know, which is never really that good of an idea. In fact, like, this also looks like it's been drawn. Like, someone took a map and, you know, drew borders in a way that he thought they looked cool. Or, I don't know, maybe this is not the way that... This is just the vibe that I get. Just not that cool. Why? Why? I don't know. Then there's glorious Chinchou. So Chinchou is a Chinese colony in America that got separated from the Ming Dynasty, and so it's this independent republic in California, in Western, you know, America. Okay, sure. They are a civilized nation, so they probably can become pretty strong. And then there's Zhou. Now, I'm not sure about the second character there, how it's exactly pronounced, but Zhou is basically Chinese Australia. So, because in this timeline, the Ming did not stop the treasure expeditions from Zheng He, and apparently Zheng He, instead of going west another time, decided to go south and found Australia, and then go east and found America. And so he became an explorer, even though in real life he was not an explorer, he was a diplomat. But whatever, what the fuck ever, let's not even get into that. No, this is Spain. See, I was half See, it would have made more sense for a random Chinese colony to be in Western Africa than in California. But sure, fine, why not? And other than that, you have the big, you know, big old Grand Columbia, which is, yeah, okay. I like how, wait, your primary culture is Mexican. Haha, so apparently in here you don't have a single culture, eh? You have Grenadans. More Grenadans, then you have Salvadorians. And then you have, I suppose, Mexicans and Tarascans. Haha, hilarious. So even though it's called Gran Colombia, it's actually, you know, basically New Spain. Okay, I like that. And there's, of course, like a kind of Inca thing. Tahuantinsuyu. I don't know what that means. And if we go north, there's three big old colonies. One is obviously Vinland, because... Again, these guys are the first ones who did it, right? So let's not get too mad about that. I get mad about this stuff because I hate Finland. I just hate Finland so much. It's so small brain. Like, because the fucking Norse landed here once or something. Vinland. Jeez, it's always Vinland. Anyway, it's boring today, but I guess it wasn't boring whenever this mod was born. So there's Vinlandic, of course. You know, then there's the Belgian Confederacy, which I don't know what this is supposed to be, but Nouvelle Bruges. So this is obviously like, you know, New York, but... Ooh, Port Valois. Valois are the Frenchies. Huh. Valois are the French dynasty. Le Fer. They're Protestant, are they? Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay. Bruxelles Atlantique. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's so hilarious. Okay, so basically these are Franco-Belgians here. I'm not sure exactly whose colony this is supposed to be, whether or not, like, you know, French refugees or Burgundians or anything like that. But definitely Plantagenet, or, yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. Plantagenet is, I think, supposed to be, like, you know, a dual monarchy colony. So basically, if these unite, they can form something called the Arcadian Union, because America's called Arcadia in this one. Or it's called Ameriga with a G, like, you know, Amerigo Vespucci, which is the name of the guy that America is called. Is named the name of like, I think the Spanish people call it Ameriga with a G, while you know, the North European people call it Arcadia. Now, Arcadia IRL, this is actually kind of a cool thing. Arcadia IRL is like, I think this part of Greece, something like that. It's a part of the Peloponnese, I think. 90% sure that it's a part of the Peloponnese, but it's basically like in literary culture, Arcadia is like a idyllic, sort of rural, pastoral, and sort of carefree, thought-free existence of land. Like, it's a land where essentially, you know, all the hustle and bustle of the bad parts of civilization don't matter, and, you know, the poet can be alone with his sheep or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of dumb, but understandable. Like, it's a pretty big literary trope, and I kind of like how America's called Arcadia. I'm not sure of the reason why, but I do kind of see why. Like, I think it fits very, very well with, like, the image of, like, you know, the beautiful, free, tranquil, rural life of, you know, the immigrant to the United States, or sorry, to America, which in this timeline, not being the United States, also means that it hasn't had, like, the frontier spirit, the colonization, the expansion, the manifest destiny, or anything like that. And so, I suppose America's a bit more laid back. In fact, like, these populations are pretty small. I'm pretty sure that, like, these colonies are supposed to be more recent than they were in real life. Yeah, in fact, even, like, the Chinese, because the Chinese colony, like, I think in the lore it states that they, like, cut off the ties to the dynasty pretty early on, so you never have, like, a big emigration of Chinese people to here. Anyway, they can get, like, a ton of immigrants, as usual. Plantagenet is actually a constitutional monarchy. Interesting. Anyway, they can get, like, their millions of immigrants anyway and become relatively strong, but they're not nearly as much of a global force as the United States is in real life. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly how the mod plays out because, again, I've never played it, but I don't know. I suppose it can have some cool things. Now, one cool thing is that because you never had the Treaty of Westphalia. Like, you had the Wars of Religion, but you never had the kind of same ending as it happened IRL, and you never had the liberal revolutions. So you never had, essentially, the birth, and you never had the nation states. So you had never had the birth of the Westphalian and later, quote-unquote, Metternician, which was the foreign minister of Austria who sort of orchestrated a lot of the things behind the, essentially, Congress of Vienna, which is, you know, the end of the Napoleonic Wars. Sort of. And that later you don't even have Bismarck, so you never have the sort of buildup of that international system of international relations that sort of comes to define Europe later down the line. So you actually have that, like, infamy at the beginning of the game gets reduced really, really quickly because it's a bit, you know, again, everything's a bit more feudal in flavor. And in 1848, I think you still have the liberal revolution. So one thing that could make this mod really, really cool is that if you continue playing and at some point you have a bunch of, like, liberal nationalist things, which I know happens in the dual monarchy. The dual monarchy at some point has, like, a ton of big events that can split off England, can split off France, can split off any number of parts. And so you can have sort of history sort of get back on the right track, quote unquote. You can, take Bavarian form Germany, and, you can have a spreading of liberalism. Sort of. Again, because I haven't played the mod, I do not know. You definitely can form Russia. But, like, of course, because the world is just so fucked, some things are just never quite the same. Like, for example, Russia's never as powerful as it was in real life, because even if you take over, like, everything or something, great English, by the way, like, all these places haven't had, like, hundreds of years of Russian migrations, And even though before 1890, which is, Trans-Siberian Railroad, all that, my game just crashed, I think. Anyway, just finishing this off really quickly. Even though you never had that many Russians in Siberia, it was still very populated. Because that never happened, some possibilities don't exist, which is, the whole thing with the mod's name, Divergences of Darkness. There are divergences that, can't ever come back or whatever. But some things, hopefully, can be fixed. Anyway, I'm not sure I'll ever play this, but I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. So I want to thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.